Thank you. Good morning. It's hard to follow that. Martin has done so much for us in the last year, and even before that, because when he was running for Congress, he was representing everything that we stand for, everything that came together in February of 2009. So I just wanted to briefly talk about what the Tea Party has done, what it's meant, and why this is so. Why I'm so proud to be here because of that. We didn't mean to start the Tea Party thing, at least as far as I know. I wrote a little blog post a week before that first Tea Party saying, why don't we do this in St. Louis, because some other cities were doing it. We expected about 50 or 100 people to show up, and we had about 1,500 who came down to the Arch on 11 o'clock on a Friday morning. It was 32 degrees. It was cold, nasty, very little time, no organization. It was me and Dana Lashin. At 97.1 at that time, Dana was on Sunday nights at 8 o'clock. She didn't have a great time slot. She was just starting out in radio. But we talk about the divine intervention at just the right time, just the right moment, just the right people heard our message and they came out. And here we are 2.5 years later with the opportunity to be sharing our vision with another group. And the beauty of that is the connections that we make determine the quality of the outcomes, because we're social beings. Human beings are wired to be social. We're individuals, but we're wired to be social. We work best in teams. And the more connections we make, as Tony talked about earlier, the more connections we make, the more bonds we have, the stronger our influence grows. I just read a book called Connections. It's a few years old now, but it's about social networks, not electronic social networks, but real human social networks, how people connect. And in a chapter on politics, they pointed out that one person saying, I intend to vote, influences 4 people to vote who wouldn't have otherwise. More importantly, 2 of those people will vote for the candidate, at least 2 of those people will vote for the candidate who you're voting for. So 3/5 of the people you influence, yourself and 4 others, will vote for the candidate of your choosing. That's the power of connections. It's also the power of talking and meeting people. One of the things that we're doing with the St. Louis Tea Party over the next year is a 12 monthly steps of building our own communities. If you go back 10, 15 years, go back to 1997. It was before Monica Lewinsky. The economy was growing like gangbusters. We were beginning a period of budget surpluses instead of budget deficits. Remember that time? But remember something else about those days. Something didn't feel right. We felt great about ourselves. We felt great about our jobs, our careers. We thought we were only going to get richer. That's why we were getting interest-only mortgages on houses that we couldn't afford. But society, the world around us, it felt like there was something missing. We felt a hole, and it showed up in survey after survey after survey. People in polls were saying that they believe that their own lives will get dramatically better over the next 10 years. And they also believe that their children's lives will continue to get worse. And you know what? They were half right. Their children's lives did seem to unravel a bit. A couple of historians, William Strauss and Neil Howe, wrote a book called The Fourth Turning that talked about this phenomenon. And it happens repeatedly in Western history. About every 80 years, we go through a period of when everything seems to be going right, and then all of a sudden it starts to unravel, and then we go through a period like this. In that unraveling, we lose the connections to each other, right? And I think that the government is responsible for some of that. We've said turn to the government when you have a problem, not turn to your neighbor. Look for someone else to help someone in need. Don't look at yourself. This morning I was reading a story about how an organization is helping farmers around the world become self-sufficient by teaching them how to more effective lobby governments in the United Nations. And I'm sure to the writer, he really thought that he was telling the truth. But it was so obviously wrong. You can't teach somebody to be self-sufficient by having them lean on government or lean on someone else's government or the taxpayers of some other country. You teach self-sufficiency by relying on yourself and your neighbors and your friends and the voluntary, loving contributions that we make to each other when we need help. So when I heard Christopher Arp's story about how he launched this movement this morning, I was so proud to live in the same city and to be part of this organization, to be a member of MoveOnUp.org, and having joined about a year and a half ago. And it's beautiful what's happening because you're weaving the bonds of community and society that will carry us into the next decade. So thank you for being here, and I want you to thank each other because I know there's a gentleman, Stacy from Michigan. Where else have you come from? Anybody outside of Missouri?
New York.
New York.
Texas.
DC.
Texas. Virginia.
Kansas.
Awesome. Well, let me thank you for coming to my hometown, and I want you to thank each other. I do this at all of our Tea Party events. Thank each other because you have the courage. You've started out taking the most important step, which is putting yourself on the line, meeting other people, thank you, and starting to rebuild that community. Thank you very much.